element is that it considers evidence from both sides of the argument, right? And reliability 2 is that well, you got to see who it's from. It's this guy called Anthony Parsons, and this guy worked at the UN because he's the UK permanent representative at the UN. Now, what this means is that he represents the UK at the UN. He doesn't represent the UN. Who pays his salary? The UK, right? The UN doesn't pay his salary. All right. So this guy has no incentive to speak up for the UN. He has an incentive to speak up for the UK, but definitely not for the UN. But the fact that even though the fact is that he worked there, so he knows what's going on there, you see. And so we have here an insider who's relatively unbiased, and he wrote a book in 1995 which allowed him to sort of give a rather holistic account, of the post-Cold War peacekeeping operations. So here we have an insider, who that means who is familiar with the internal, let's give it a word, say, the dynamics of the UN. Alright, and because he is he's not paid by the UN, he's the UK permanent rep, we don't have any grounds to suspect him from being predisposed towards the United Nations and or being against the United Nations. Alright, so this is a relatively unbiased person, and he has no particular agenda with the UN, so to speak. Alright, not that we can detect anyway. Alright, and that brings us to another point which I want to make, is that about you got to check out this one, which is that we're talking about Somalia here. Now, Somalia is a good place for you to talk about how the US, which is mentioned here, pull out, right? Because of the Black Hawk Down incident. Now, if you mention Black Hawk Down and the number of Rangers that died in that particular incident, I mean, it will look good, right? It shows a very someone who's very familiar with the content, right? So let's move on to source C. Now, what is source C? Source C is short, so it's relatively easy to know what to make of it. And generally, the essence of source C, it's that there were new insights, right? Check it out, new insights, right? Gain about a varied task. All right. So, and never before, you see, such this very emotional words, never before. This obviously is not a very objective source, and just so that we know who is praising who, we know that who is doing the praising here, the UN Secretary General in Perez de Cuellar in 1991. So, I mean, in terms of reliability, we're definitely going to shoot this down first for the fact that he has a very emotional tone, and second, it's that it's someone praising himself, right, or his own organization, to be accurate. But however, we must make sure that we quote the right thing. And can you guess what should be quoted here? Well, I think you know, right? The main thing is that we got to quote that it is that there were many new insights about varied tasks. Alright, so actually source C, it's definitely a confirmed source, right? It's more effective. And what's the essence? The essence is that there were new insights and varied tasks. Alright, okay, so new insights mean that again new knowledge. Alright, new knowledge, and new and multiple types of tasks. Well, alright, effective, so on. That's probably the essence, right? And of course, reliability, we're really going to shoot this one down because it's someone praising his own organization. Now, don't you write that in your answer, make sure you put it in the correct technical language. such as it is UN Secretary General praising his own organization, the UN, right? And of course we're going to shut it down because it has what, emotive language. And of course when you're saying a source as emotive language, you got to make sure you put in the example of the emotive language, such as never before, all right? And unthinkable. No, unthinkable is really hyperbole, all right, or very exaggerating words for someone. All right. So now these are what we call emotive languages. All right, and you must recognize the hook. All right, because when now let's talk about cross reference, right? Cross reference. Now you must recognize that there's a hook here, right? What is the hook? The hook is that we want to see what is a very good point of connection between two sources that we want to cross refer. And here we can see here that we're talking about new insights, new veritas. All right. Okay, someone's singing in the background. I don't like that. All right. Okay. New insights, veritas, and look back at source A, which is also a confirmed source. Is it innovative, new, complicated, and so when we talk about cross referring, we realize that we have a common point of link here, which is about innovative, new, complicated, never done before, right? And between source A and source C, which is excellent. And this is something which I hope you guys will be able to see when you guys are doing your source-based answers, right? Because your cross-reference, you must see the hook, right? All right, see the hook, right? Which is the fact about it being varied, about it being new, right? All right, new knowledge and understanding, so on. Therefore, leading to more effectiveness in the post-Cold War era. All right, that's what you should focus on. All right, and that's about that, right? And what about source D? Now let's take a look at source D. When we look at source D, what is the essence here? Well, the essence, it's it is suggested in the first line, in that on the second line, on the contrary, it appeared that the passing of bipolarity had actually created new problems for the conduct of peacekeeping. And bipolarity means that there are two poles, and this is another word for talking about the situation of the Cold War. And passing of bipolarity means the ending of the Cold War, right? Because bipolar means there are two poles, and one pole is the US, and the other pole is the Soviet Union, right? And from the first line, you seem to know that source D is going to be a disconfirmed source, because the experience of UN intervention seems to suggest that peacekeeping was not, after all, liberated by the end of the Cold War. On the contrary, so on and so on, right? And on the contrary, and you will see here that it says the retraction of superpower interests. All right. Now this is the essence. What does retraction of superpower interest mean? Now let's take a look at this. Retraction of superpower interest and the end of the influence over local clients. This moderation of local behavior by the big powers have been an essential component. Now what this part is saying, that it used to be that in the Cold War, the superpowers, because they had these relationships with all their client states, wherever their client states are involved in any kind of hanky-panky, in any kind of local conflicts, the superpowers can say, hey, stop what you're doing, right? Stop that, right? And they could force their client states to negotiate and so on. And even though it is sort of done through United Nations kind of operations, right? The fact that the guys were willing to sit down and discuss things was because their respective superpowers were forcing them to the table, right? And this guy, this academic, or this Nori McQueen, probably a lady, it's saying that we could see this in Suez and in Lebanon, right? Which are two examples of Cold War peacekeeping, right? And this is a very good place for you to bring your contextual knowledge about Suez and so on. But one got to know that here the essence is basically about the retraction of